Now, New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters, eyeing a political comeback, says taxpayer money is being used for an all-out assault on Western values. In a speech in Auckland, he warned of a powerful elite devoted to the destruction of our cultural inheritance. He promised his party, if re-elected, would take action, such as changing every government department's Te Reo Māori name back to English. Winston Peters is with us now. Good morning, Mr. Peters.
Good morning.
Now, can you just explain to me what you mean by an all-out assault on Western values?
Well, so much that is part of our inheritance from our parents and grandparents and people before that, as we built one of the finest democracies in the world. So much in terms of our institution is under attack now, being derailed and dismantled without any authority, any mandate whatsoever. And when we talk about the use of language, when communications, it means understanding, to have a health department with Te Wharaora for the name, when that 95% don't understand it, just doesn't make sense. And it's gone on and on and on, unchallenged, and we are saying we're going to call it out and change that.
What is wrong with naming organisations with Māori names? You just said it, Te Whatuora, so you know what it is.
Yes, I know what it is, and you know what it is, but 95% of your listeners don't know what it is. And they are the people who pay the taxes and actually fund Te Whatuora.
But then you look at Waka Kotahi. Now, you hardly ever hear New Zealand Transport Agency being used.
You hardly ever hear of Waka Kotahi being used either, because they're not doing anything much. They're down the road with a big name, and if you go up there to the Brand Durbans right now, you'll see all these cones out there and no one on the road, no one fixing it. That's what's going on in our country, and people are sick and tired of what they're seeing or not seeing happen. You've got all these name changes. And why would you have a waka on the road? Tell me that. They belong to the sea.
Well, waka is an interpretation of a moving vehicle or a moving item. So anyway, let's not get into the etymology of Te Reo Māori.
So with respect, it's not interpretation of that. It comes from a vehicle. When you say that, the only vehicle they had at the time was one on the water.
Language adapts, Mr. Peters, though.
Oh, I see. Well, okay. Well, great. It's important because cultures that don't adapt die. And there are some people in this cultural war who are not adapting at all. They seek to ram it down the rest of the majority's throat.
But it's the normalisation of Te Reo Māori, the national language of our country.
Of course it is. Look, I was in the caucus that first funded Ko Anga Reo. Has always believed in that. But when you're going to have someone who's got a desperate illness and sickness, and they don't know where they're going to because the name's not in Māori, and they get into the hospital, and it's in Māori there, and before it's English, when 95% of people are confronted with this circumstance, I think we should listen to them.
So you're saying,
not to the elite.
Sorry to interrupt you, but so you're saying that because of a Māori name, people won't be able to get to a hospital or find a hospital?
That's what's precisely happening when you get to hospital. This is virtue signaling at the expense of people's lives.
Well, I'll push back on that in terms of, but I want to move to the Māori. On the basis that a Māori name of an organisation isn't going to be life-threatening to taxpayers. But anyway, I want to question you. I want to ask you about your stance on Māori ceding sovereignty. Is that your stance, that Māori did cede sovereignty?
That's my stance. That's Sir Upper Ngata's stance, the finest Māori politician we've ever had, who got his law degree in 2 years flat. Yes, that is my position, and that was his position. We've
just had the second round of the Paparahi o Te Raki report, and the first round of that in 2014 found that, especially in Northland, obviously, we'll keep it there, who signed Te Tiriti in the Bay of Islands and Hokianga never ceded their sovereignty. So do you disagree with the Waitangi Tribunal?
Of course I do. They're concocting and manufacturing up against the arguments of and the thesis of people like Upper Ngata. I know who I respect. He may not be from where I come from. He's from Ngāti Porou. But he's highly esteemed in the world when we studied Māori issues to do with the law.
So was Dr. Ranginui Walker, who helped write that report.
Well, Rangi Walker was a wet as pig, and I know Rangi Walker. So we lived at the same place for decades and decades and decades. I've got to make a great respect for him. But Rangi Walker was not a lawyer on this matter or constitutional expert.
There were a range of lawyers on that panel for the tribunal, many of who were Pākehā as well, who came to the same conclusion that Māori did not cede sovereignty in the north.
Oh, this is nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. If you are, look, can I just finish off what I want to say? Because I've been around the Maori world on this issue for a long, long time as a young lawyer as well, and fought great cases for Maori, one of the biggest land cases this country's ever seen. So can I just say to you this, that in the years leading up to 1840, there was huge demand in the Maori world for some sort of stability and law and order. People felt threatened all over the place. That's the background, and they had requested this outcome. And what you're trying to have say on this program, not you maybe, but others, is that it was rammed down their throats. That isn't true.
Did Labour hide the He Puapua report from you?
Of course they hid it from me. You see, I was on a committee that inherited a work that the National Act and Maori Party had left us. They'd gone off and signed up to UNDRIP, something which I, as Foreign Minister, didn't do, and Helen Clark agreed with me, and it didn't happen. National gets in, and 2 years later they're doing that. They've signed up to it, and so we're left with a committee as to what we're going to do about it. We had a committee that had this decision to make, that it would consult with ministers with portfolio interests in a declaration plan. That declaration plan never ever came to me, and Willie Jackson said that. And we got certain people trying to make out I knew. Willie Jackson said we kept it from him because you know what he'd have done with it if they got it. Now, that's my bona fides. The declaration plan never came out until December 2020, well after the election.
But you were at that CAB committee in which it was agreed to develop a national plan of action, strategy or other measure on New Zealand's progress towards the objectives of the declaration.
Excuse me. I was at the cabinet when they were developing a plan with respect to capital gains tax. And we said, yes, you can do the work, but when it's over, we want to see what it merits of it is. When I saw that, the capital gains tax findings were deficient in the sense that, like Cyclone Gabriel now, when people had capital losses, no one's going to compensate them. It had been so unfair. So we stopped that. And that's my bona fides on this matter. I was never shown this report, whereas I was shown the capital gains one, but not the declaration plan when it finally came out. And I was the number one minister, not Mahuta. I was the Foreign Minister. This is to do with the United Nations. That should have been shown. And Willie Jackson is my evidence. What's yours?
Well, it's hard to understand why you wouldn't follow up a CAB committee in which it was agreed to have an action plan and for it to be a complete surprise to you that when He Puapua came out.
Well, that's, sorry, a bit slow-witted. If you're never told that the report has been done and here it is, then why would you try to be following it up?
Well, you're quite impassioned about it, and obviously you're quite against it, and you make a decision to find other measures and have a strategy and an action plan on progress towards the objectives of the declaration. Look,
good try, but how could I be against something I've never seen? They knew that if I did see it, I would be against it. But I make decisions on the basis of what I've read and seen, not some rumour. It was never shown to me. I was never told it was coming, and they kept it till December after the election before it was exposed. What evidence more do you need that what I'm saying is the truth here? Willie Jackson said it as well.
Thanks for your time this morning. That is New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters.